parliamentary staff, we found out, have made a whopping 2,000 phone calls to the speaking clock since 2019. Now, if you're not familiar, by the way, with Westminster and where it is, let me help you. It is, you'd probably open most windows and be able to see Big Ben, or lean a little bit in case you can't see it from your office, or, you know, if you can't see it from the subsidised bar outside, you could look up the marquee. It's always there, always looking over you, and that is, of course, assuming you don't have a phone or a watch. Looking at this story a little bit more is the research director from the Taxpayers Alliance, Duncan Simpson. What is going on?
It's slightly absurd, sorry. So as you
said,
so I think 2015 there were 700 calls made, which cost almost £400. In 2016, I think there were over 1,000 calls which were made, which were almost 700 quid in the 3 years up to February this year. We don't know how much it cost. We think it was around about £250. But it's a completely balmy story, and we looked into this last year as well. I think the Home Office spent 70 quid in 1 year on the talking clock. But there is no justification for this, and admittedly it's small beer. It's not massive amounts. But
no, but it's a principle.
Indeed, it is.
See, for me, it's not just about, like, for example, in 2012, the Met Police came under fire after staff there spent £35,000 making 110,000 calls to the speaking clock over a 2-year period. So it's not even about, to me, how much money. It's about the principle, about what on God's green earth are you doing, ringing the speaking clock, which, by the way, I didn't even realise was still a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was still there.
Indeed.
What is it doing there? Why do we need to ring a clock anymore in the era of, I've got my smartphone, I've got this time, I've got that time, you've got time everywhere. Who does that these days? Calls the speaking clock?
Yeah, quite. I mean, you can just open your laptop, you can go to Google and type in atomic clock to get the most accurate time possible. We don't know exactly why this is the case in Parliament. I mean, my working theory is that, people are working literally underneath Big Ben and they just want to see if the time that Big Ben is telling them is accurate as the speaking clock. I mean, that could be a theory, I don't know. But as you say, it's completely...
Don't try and get into the mindset of these stupid people, because it won't end well. Honestly.
I have to say, I did used to work in Parliament. I never called the speaking clock, so that's some reassurance.
Well, if you are somebody who is paid for by us taxpayers and you are spending that taxpayers' money on ringing the speaking clock, you need to have a serious word with yourself. Honestly, there's no time for it. No time for it. Do you see what I did there? Talk to me as well about Extinction Rebellion. Thank you. Someone in my ear at least thought I was hilarious there. That's at least one person. I'm after your job. I want to be a comedian.
No, you really don't.
No, I don't think I'd be very good at it. But this is a story, actually, as well, and we mentioned it in brief on Friday, I think it was, Extinction Rebellion and the cost of these protests. £50 million, these protests, policing the process, have cost the police. Over the last 2 years, again, money that you and I, there you go, that's money that you and I have spent on policing these. What's your thoughts on this, Duncan?
That's right. So we're seeing some of the scenes from earlier today. Of course, you remember, I think it was about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, there were huge swathes in the middle of London which were just completely shut down. I think Oxford Circus, for example, that was sort of barricaded.
This annoys me. Sorry, I am listening to you. I am listening to you, Duncan, but I can't help. I'm looking at this. This is Trafalgar Square, for those of you that, again, don't know London. I look at it and think, who do you think you are? This is one of the busiest roundabouts in London. People will be going about their business, or should I say, attempting to. Shoppers, business people, commuters, and you cannot get past because these muppets with their drums and their dinosaur hats, I mean, oh, it infuriates me. I'm going to put my pen, I'm wagging my pen, you can't see, I'm wagging my biro at that screen. Infuriates me.
Yeah, absolutely, and we obviously don't know the cost of policing all this at the moment. The police have said that quite a few officers who are doing pretty serious frontline stuff are going to have to be, moved to the middle of the capital and the city as well. I think a lot of the protests are going to be in and around the Bank of England, for example. So the cost is going to be pretty astronomical. And added to which, we do know there's a huge backlog of court cases across the whole of the UK. So we know, for example, with the previous protests, a lot of there are actually a very high conviction rate. So a lot of the people who were, sitting outside and camping outside the Home Office were subsequently not necessarily in prison, but nevertheless went through the court system. So when we've got a huge backlog already, the onus on quite a few of these people who are, possibly camping in the middle of middle of London, you do question about the financial reality, the rationale of exactly why they're doing it when you consider, you know, the broader impact on what the state's trying to do with delivery.
Why can't we pass some of the cost on to these processors? So, for example, if you want to stand in the middle of a busy roundabout with your drum and your dinosaur hat on, you can, of course, do that, because I do believe in the right to process, and I know you're passionate about this as well, Francis, but if you do that and you shut London down, you should be bearing an element of cost. If you want to super glue yourself to the window or to the wall, or you want to smash your little windows and all the rest of it, why aren't you guys, as in the processors, not you, I'm not suggesting you three should be paying for it, but, well, you are paying for it anyway as taxpayers. Francis, what's your view on this?
Well, the thing is, I'm always torn with the Extinction Rebellion because I don't like the manner of which they go out and protest. I don't particularly like the manner at which they disrupt London, but I do think we need to we need to discuss climate change. When you look at everything that's happened in California with the wildfires, when you're looking at what's happening with Greece, the highest ever day in Europe was recorded a matter of weeks ago in Sicily. This is a very, very real problem. And I don't think that global leaders are taking it seriously enough, if I'm honest.
And do you think that that guy in his pants in a dinosaur hat with a drum encourages those global leaders to take it seriously?
Yes.
Right, Tom, very, very briefly, Tom, your thoughts?
Well, given that some of these people, I'm told, actually live in often three-storey townhouses in places like Notting Hill when they're not in Trafalgar Square with their dinosaur hats drumming in their pants, I actually think they should be able to protest. You're right, though, it's the disruption that they cause. That's what we've got to get to grips with. And why can't we bring back people like Swampy? Remember, he was an environmentalist. He didn't really particularly get in the way of too many people, and he became a celebrity almost overnight. We need more Swampies and less of the...
Yeah, and by the way, if you've got, like, anything else, like a football match or something that causes disruption, then those clubs, etc., are expected to contribute towards the cost of policing that. Anyway, you've got me on a topic there that I'm quite passionate about this, actually. Someone's been in contact and saying the time checkers at Big Ben use a speaking clock to check the accuracy of the mechanical clock, Michelle. Yes, I get that, Matthew, but you don't need to ring the speaking clock. You could look, you've got clocks everywhere, that's my point. Anyway, Duncan Simpson, I always like talking to you. You always make my blood boil, but in a nice way. I mean that as a compliment.